Hello, crafting peeps. It's been quite a while since I posted a video of any kind, and I'm working through a process today that I've explained in various forums before and figured I'd show it instead of using the words to describe it. This is Vicki, the Literal Crafter in Western New York, and I'm really glad you're with me today. I'm going to do this as quickly as I can, but hopefully with enough information that you could actually go and do this on your own. What I'm doing is weeding stamps and categorizing. So all of my existing stamps have been weeded, categorized, are filed in their box, and I have a reference book so that I can easily find what I'm looking for. I had the opportunity to get a whole bunch of stamps really cheap. And so I went through them, and now I need to merge them into my collection. It's a merge and a purge. So I'm going to take some things out. I'm going to add some in. I'm creating some new categories. So what I've done so far, I've pulled out some existing sets that I'm going to take apart, and I'm creating a new category called Art and Creativity. So this greenish blue, I guess in the distress world, that would be feathers colored paper is here, just to give you a backing so that you can see what's on my table here. So these are new stamps that I got that are going into my new category. These are all existing categorized stamps that I'm now going to break up. So I'm going to start the process, then I'll go off camera to do part of it, and then I'll come back on. So here we have a definition for creativity. So that's going to go into my art and creativity category. So I'm just going to slap that stamp there. Now, whether I end up cutting this descriptor here off is to be determined later. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So I'm going to put this back in its category. I'm going to keep this out because now I need to update my reference sheet for this category because that stamp's no longer in it. Sounds like a lengthy process, but it's not. So I'm just going to do one more on camera, and then I'll do the rest of these sets off camera. So this has a creativity quote, so I'm just going to put that on there. And then we have the artist journal, so that's going to go there. And then I'll put these back in and put this aside to update that in my reference book. So I have just a few more sets to pull from. I will pause here and then come back when I've got everything together to show you the next step in the... Okay, so I've gone through my sets. I've pulled out the stamps that I want in my new category. I've set aside the sets that I've pulled from so that I can update my reference book. And I have all the stamps here in front of me that make up my new category called Art and Creativity. So now I need to make my storage sheets, and I either reuse packaging or I cut up these. I got these at a flea market, and they are protective pockets, very plasticky, heavy acetate pockets. So I use a heavy-duty guillotine cutter. I cut off the edge. It creates these sheets. And then if I'm storing them in a small pouch, I cut it to size. But because this is a big category with a lot of stamps, I'm using a larger pouch that this will fit in. So now I just need to lay them out on my sheets. And I'm going to kind of talk through this while I do this just to give you some tips. So there's different thicknesses of stamps, and I'll pay attention to that as I go. And I think I'm going to work this way. So what I'm going to do is just start to lay them out, and brace yourself. I may end up cutting some stamps or altering some stamps. I don't know yet. I kind of need to really see what's here. Okay, so I'm going to put clear stamps on this one for sure. I'm kind of laying them out by size in a way, just because I'm trying to fit as many on one sheet as I can. So I'm creating here a section which is creativity. And some of these are harder to read. Well, those are the thick red ones, so I'll wait. There's just a create word. Guess we'll do that. So I'm kind of playing Tetris on my sheet here because, again, I'm just trying to fit as much as I can on one sheet because you know other stamps are going to show up, right? So I don't want to have to redo a category every time. You know, I don't want to have to reposition stamps, redo my whole resource book. So what happens is once I have a category, if I add a stamp to it at some point, I just stamp the one image in the book and put it on the sheet. Sometimes once I do my sample stamp, I realize that there are stamps that I don't really need or won't use because they're too similar, and I pull them out at that time. Okay, so I think I have all of the clear stamps that are referring to creative are down. So these are kind of grouping them. These are art. So sometimes I use the backing pieces like this and I'll tape them on the back of this. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I really have no idea how my brain decides, but my brain does decide at some point what to do. Ugh, stamp doesn't want to come off. I'll put that there. So by creating the full sheets first, I stamp everything at once, and it makes cleanup much quicker and easier than stamping each one of these on an acrylic block and then trying to get it all cleaned up. So that's why I do it this way. It's just an easier way to do my practice stamps and then clean. Okay. So I'm not sure that I only have a few more clear stamps, and I don't know that I can get them on this sheet. Let's see if we can play Tetris a little bit more. You know, I want just enough room to be able to tell that there's, you know, two different words or whatnot. But I don't want a lot of extra room between the stamps because, again, I'm just trying to fit as many as I can on one sheet. Sometimes my ability to fit or not fit on a sheet will cause me to get rid of stamps just to make room. Isn't that mind-blowing? I mean, 10 years ago, the thought of taking stamps out of a set, breaking down a set, boy, that would have really irked me. Now I do it all the time. Get a stamp set, and the first thing I do is take out what I'm not going to use and give it away. Okay, so those are as many clear as I can fit on a sheet at once. Now I'm going to put these other stamps, the thicker red stamps, on this other page. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to fast forward in the videos. Haven't figured that out yet. Speed it up, I should say. You could always fast forward. Okay, So I like to see, when I have a large category, I like to see the whole category at once in my reference book. So I normally don't put one category on the front and back of a page. I stamp it like this so that I can see both at once. So that's what we're gonna do. So all I do here is take a non-archival ink pad and stamp up the stamp and ink up the stamps. Now I use non-archival for a couple of reasons. The main reason is I end up getting ink on my hands because of the way that I do this, and I'm handling and often touch the stamps. And I just have to do too much work to get archival ink off my hands. So that's the main reason. The second reason is cleaning up of the stamps, right? I don't want to have to clean archival ink off of all of the stamps. Now this might be too wide for my page. Ah, I didn't think about that. Okay, that's all right. We're going to do it this way. So I just kind of hold it in place. Clear stamps can have different thicknesses. So like this one right here, I can tell is thinner. So I just have to make sure that I put pressure on each stamp. So somebody asked me once why I don't just take a picture of the stamps and use that. And there's a couple of reasons. One is the picture is not going to be true to size. I can't see the real size of the image. And another reason is this gives me a chance to see how my new stamp performs. So I don't know about you. I've bought new stamp sets before, and they just don't take ink well, they don't stamp well. And yeah, I mean, some stamps you kind of have to prime them, like you do a practice stamp and then they work after that. But I'm talking about those stamps that just aren't good stamps. Well, I don't keep them. So this gives me the opportunity to see how they're going to perform. And I don't care, like this one didn't stamp perfect, and it's not that it's a bad stamp, it's just the way that I put pressure on it. It's good enough for me to know what the stamp is. So then I just take a wet chamois. So this is literally a chamois that you would use on a car. And I just blot the stamps, and this is wet. It's just, if you know how to use a chamois, you know that you wring it out really, really well. You don't want it to build up with a lot of water. So this sits on my desk all the time, and every time I come down to make, one of the first things I do is go and wet this. And again, if I had used archival ink, I would be scrubbing these stamps with archival cleaner. So this just makes it a faster cleanup. And then I have one of these doohickeys. That is the technical name for it. If you have to Google it, it's a stamp cleaner doohickey. And I just did that to dry that off a little bit. Another way to do it is, this is a microfiber cloth. I could just dab with that. Okay, so that one's done. Now I have this other one to do, and this is the thicker red stamps. And even though these are all red, there are different thicknesses. This is interesting because there are a bunch of Holtz ones on here, and even the Holtz ones are not all the same thickness as each other. Okay, so I got those inked up. This is probably too wide as well. That's okay. We're going to stamp it this way. And again, just putting pressure, getting as good of an image as I can. I mean, with sentiment stamps, word stamps, it is nice to be able to know what all the words say. Okay, so there's that. And then I have one more clear stamp that didn't fit on my other sheet. So what I'm going to do is ink, whoops, see, that's why I don't use permanent ink for this process. So I inked this stamp up separately, and I'm going to stamp that. I'm going to clean that one. And then I'm going to put it on my red sheet It helps if I clean these, I guess. I forgot to clean this. So I'm just going to take this. And there's so many stamps on these that I'm not going to take the time to back any of these. For the most part, I know what they say. I might actually put the descriptors behind those two. You know, put that on there. I'll cut around that and put that. And then the creativity one I have as well. I'm not going to do that on camera. I'm not going to take your time, but I probably will do that for those two. So from here, so I have a collection of thin acetate, like the kind that they often lay on top of stamps. And I'll go into that and pull out, hopefully find some that will fit these. And if I don't find any that fit these, I have big 12 by 12 sheets that I can cut to fit. I don't always put clear plastic on my stamps. I know that some people think you should, some people think you don't have to. I don't always. Sometimes I simply do this, right? Because it's red stamps against clear stamps. They don't stick to each other. Then these go in an envelope. My category is art and creativity. And this will go in my stamp organizer bin. Then these go, oh, do that later. So then I just label these as art and creativity, continued. And I have a reference book here. My sentiments are all in the front. So I don't worry about this being perfect. This goes affirmations, bold enough. I will probably just stick art and creativity in here. And I don't know why I originally started with everything in plastic sleeves. I've been migrating away from that. So eventually I'll take those out and 3-hole punch them. But there, now when I'm looking for some words, I can flip through, see what I want to use, see what set they're in, and easily find them. So that's how I go about weeding my stamps. In this case, I am keeping the stamps that remain in these sets. And so I just have to go in, like for this set, I just have to go in and cross off create, for example, to update my reference book. But when I have the newer sets like I did today for some of these, I just weed through them and take out the ones that I don't like, I'm not going to use, somewhat duplicate of what I have, and I give them away. So I hope maybe you're a little more comfortable with weeding stamps right now. And perhaps it will help you thin out your collection a little. And I say that lightheartedly. I normally don't thin out my collection to thin out my collection. I thin out my collection to make room, right? Let's be honest, we're all collectors here. So that's how I weed my stamps. Well, I'll do another video soon about my stamp storage system. In the meantime, if you liked the video, consider giving me a thumbs up, maybe even a purple thumbs up. And I hope you'll come back and visit me again soon. Thanks, guys. Make it a crafty day.